Hi, everyone. We will get started here in a minute. All right. Happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Laura, and I'm the Director of Media Relations with the Gluten-Free Media Group. I know a lot of us are traveling this weekend to Expo West, so thank you for tuning in today. As always, we invite you to take part in the conversation. So please ask questions and share comments using your GoToWebinar panel, and we will go through your questions at the end. Today's presenters are with the Zimmerman Group, which is a full-service marketing agency. They've helped clients launch over 200 new products in the marketplace. As the agency for Sun Butter, they helped the brand achieve record sales, becoming one of the most recognized allergy-friendly products, and also expanded Sun Butter's reach into the healthy living marketplace. The group works with clients to develop integrated marketing solutions that help drive consumer engagement and build brands. With that, I am excited to introduce President Jim Zimmerman, who will lead off the presentation.
Well, thank you, Laura, and we're glad to be with all of you today, and we hope that you find the presentation interesting and that you're able to take some insights from it that can help your business. While we're focused on food, and we know some of you are not in the food business, but the strategies and tactics we talk about, the research, the positioning, will really all be relevant to your messaging and your marketing. So I'm going to introduce the team. I'm Jim Zimmerman. I'm the president. I work on overall strategy, research, new products, and I'll pass the ball to Gretchen.
Okay, I'm Gretchen Hagel. I'm the account supervisor. I worked with Sun Butter for 3 years and work with a number of other accounts. I work with Jim on strategy, research. I do print and digital marketing and a little bit of website development and food service marketing.
Michael?
Hi, I'm Michael Mazzatelli. I do digital and video designer, just on the creative side, motion graphics, graphic design, all that good stuff. And I help film and do photography for Sun Butter.
And I'm Charity Corbell. I'm part of the social team. So I'm kind of on the strategy side of things, looking at targeting, audience segments, analytics, paid media, so more the content strategy side of things. And I've been in social media for just over 5 years now. Happy to be here with you guys today. Really appreciative that you're able to take the time out of your day for us. Thank you.
Well, and as we go through the presentation, there'll be opportunities to answer questions, to provide notice to Laura about what additional questions you might have or what data that you're not getting. At the end, you'll see all of our website addresses and phone numbers, so reach out to any of us if you have any follow-up questions that we can help with, and we'd be happy to do that. Let me give you just a little additional background on the Zimmerman Group. I started the agency about 30 years ago after leaving Pillsbury, where I was Director of New Products and Business Development. Again, we've been heavily involved in the food business, heavily involved in positioning products, launching new products, and really all aspects of that, from the original concept research to packaging design, advertising, social media, etc. The other thing we've been involved in a lot are repositioning old iconic brands. So brands like Fleischmann's Yeast, Carroll Corn Syrup, Argo Cornstarch, 100-year-plus brands where every morning they would start their day by looking at the obituaries to see how many of their users had died the day before. And so we needed to revitalize and make those franchises contemporary, which we did, and we got them all growing. So that's another area of expertise. So let's move on. For those of you that aren't familiar with Sun Butter, we have a brief video that will give you a little bit of background on the brand and what it is and what it does. So Michael will play that now. thank you. You'll see videos throughout the presentation, and as we have time, we'll play a few of those. But they're all available, and you can click on them as you get the presentation for any that you might want to review. And we've used videos for all segments of the market for Sun Butter. We've used them for consumers to educate them about the brand and how to use it, for B2B to try and generate industrial and ingredient business, and for food service. And we'll talk more about that as we go. So let's go to some stats on the, do you want to?
Yeah, so we're going to start out with a poll question, and Laura has that pulled up on the webinar. And our first question is, what is your top goal for attending the webinar? And you'll see some answer choices there. And while you're filling in your answer choices, we're going to move on through the presentation. And as Jim said, we'll be answering the questions throughout the presentation. We'll have Q&A at the end. And if we still haven't answered your question, you can always reach out to us.
Yep. So let's just do a quick overview of the agenda and what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the free-from market, how we've used research to determine the positioning for Sun Butter, the channels the product is sold in and what the strategies are there, communication and promotion, social media video recipes, evaluation, and then again, Q&A at the end. So let's talk about the free-from market. You undoubtedly all are involved with that. And it's been a really interesting evolving market. We were involved probably about 10 years ago in the low-carb craze. When that came out as a fad, everybody was trying to develop low-carb products. Most of them were very poor quality. They were very expensive. The fad died because primarily you couldn't deliver good products at a reasonable price. And the gluten-free and allergy-friendly market really were very similar. If you went back, you'll see the chart there of sales. If you went back to 2006, you had less than $1 billion in sales. And I think we all remember at that point that if you wanted to get a gluten-free product, if it was a bakery product, it would always be sold frozen because there wasn't enough velocity to justify selling them fresh. Quality was poor, price was high, and it was really a tiny niche market targeted to celiacs, which we know are a very small percentage of the population. What you'll see is by 2015, it had gotten to $10.5 billion. It's now much more mainstream. It's a product that gluten-free has become what I call a nutritional soundbite for consumers. A lot of consumers have no idea what gluten-free really is or what it does, but they associate it with being better for them and healthier for them. And there are a lot of things in the market like that, trans fats, whole grain. People know they're good or bad, and they're not quite sure why. So gluten-free has taken on that meaning for a lot of people. And so you'll see the category is projected to go to almost $24 billion by 2020, making it a very mainstream part of the food business. So as you look at the free-from stats on the next page, again, what you find for gluten-free, they're very extremely loyal, engaged, and passionate. I think much more brand loyal and category loyal than typical consumers. They're very concerned about product safety and clear labeling. That's particularly true for allergy friendly, where there's always a concern about undeclared allergens or something that might be in a product that will cause a family member a real issue. Again, cost of production can be higher, but higher perceived value. And right now, you've got 30% of people that are viewing gluten-free products as generally healthier. And that's a huge opportunity for people selling gluten-free products to make them more mainstream and, again, perceived as better for you than products with gluten.
So we have another poll question here, and Laura's going to bring that up for you. The question is, how can marketing research benefit your brand? And while Laura is bringing that up, you might be answering that question. We'll move on to the next slide and start talking about that.
So we are a very big believer in market research, and we really used a significant amount of market research in positioning Sun Butter and identifying product opportunities, identifying market needs. And so what we did when we first started, we started out when we became their full-time agency in 2014, we started with a very major research project because we really needed to understand how the product performed, how it was perceived, what kind of awareness we had, how the product was being used, and all of those aspects. We also needed to find out how the product performed. So we did a major in-home use test where consumers used it with their family exactly how they would use this type of product. And we got a rating from both their kids and the adults in how we compared to, at that time, what we saw as the leading peanut-free competitor, which was Wow Butter. So again, we used all those. We used home use tests. We did a lot of focus groups, again, to understand what are people doing now, what's most important to them, and so on. So let's go on to the next slide. So positioning, again, is at the Zimmerman Group, we believe that that is the core to doing effective marketing, is identifying the strongest, most defendable positioning that you can have for your brand. I would always define it as finding the high ground that you can own and defend. So a lot of people will talk about positioning, meaning unique selling proposition, how you're differentiated from competition. And I always, when I'm teaching about positioning, I always like to say that the strongest positioning for you or your brand or your business will be the intersection of something that's highly valued by your consumers and prospects that you can deliver uniquely well. So the last thing you want to do is find a strong positioning that better fits a competitor, because then you've just blazed a trail for them and you don't want to do that. So this is very important. And again, what we've done is with SunButter, we've had a real evolution of the positioning of the brand. When we started out, it was a very small niche brand targeted to people with peanut allergies, families with peanut allergies, very low awareness, very low usage. It was perceived versus the gold standard almond butter as significantly inferior to almond butter. So that's where we started. So our goal there was to maximize the peanut allergy market, which we did. In our second round of research, we found that we had done a very good job against that market, and there was not a whole lot of opportunity to grow that. So we wanted to see what would be the next circle. So what we found is 60,000 schools prohibit or restrict peanuts and tree nuts. And so people are really left with, what can I send to school? What is a school-safe product? So my kids don't have a peanut allergy, but I can't send peanut products, so I need to find out what can I send to school that will be safe for the school. So that became our second positioning of school safe. So again, peanut allergy plus those people that needed a product that would be good to send. So now we've gone from 1 million households to 10. And then when we got to year 3, we found out that awareness was pretty high, usage was pretty high among both those segments. So now we had the opportunity to broaden that circle. By this point, what we found is that the perception of SunButter was now equal to almond butter. So no longer were we a poor second sister to almond butter. We were perceived as an equal. And so that gave us the opportunity to pursue the mainstream nut butter market and go right up against almond butter and the other premium nut butters, basically talking about flavor and nutrition. And so Gretchen will take you through the execution of those 3 positionings.
Great. So as Jim said, I'm going to talk about how the research and positioning informed the claims that we made for SunButter. So we started with the allergy-free segment, and some of the claims that we made there were peanut-free. And in 2016, SunButter decided to invest in a new roaster that was soy-free, and that enabled them to make the soy-free and top 8 allergen-free claim. And that was extremely important because one of their main competitors was a product that was made from soy, and so SunButter could claim top 8 allergen-free, which gave them an advantage. Gluten-free was another important claim. Non-GMO, it's something that allergy people are certainly considering. That's maybe debatable whether GMO really contains allergens, but people with allergies do tend to avoid GMO product if they can. And GMO is also very important for the health segment. So there's a perception, whether it's true or not, that GMO contributes, is unhealthy. Non-GMO product is healthier. So then in the allergy positioning, these are some ads that we did with SunButter with the Quad AI organization. It's the American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology. We did a postcard mailing to their members. Sampling was extremely important for sun butter. I think Jim pointed out that there was a perception that almond butter was better nutrition, better flavor. And of course, people always compared sun butter to peanut butter. So when we were first going into the allergy market, we really wanted to convince consumers this was a product that tasted good. It wasn't just an alternative to peanut butter. So sampling the Gluten-Free and Allergy-Free Expo is an excellent opportunity to get your samples out to the allergy and gluten-free segment. Also, healthcare, very important because doctor recommendations are extremely important in the allergy market. Our research showed that people with allergies go to the doctor more than twice a year, go to the allergist more than twice a year. So that was a really important segment. So moving on to the school safe claim. The claim here, pretty easy. It's just school safe, peanut free. The important thing here is that Jim talked about this. We were trying to educate a new market. These are parents who maybe didn't have a kid with a peanut allergy or gluten sensitivity that were finding out that their school was restricting peanuts for the first time and didn't know what they could do. So the timing was very important with this segment. We did a lot of our advertising during the back to school time period when people were first learning that their school was maybe now peanut free or had peanut free tables or peanut aware. And so the timing at back to school was very important. And the placement was also broader here. So instead of just reaching to the allergy segment, we started to reach out to like parents. This was a parent's email ad on the right. And then next slide. And one thing that was really innovative that we did was we did a sampling program with the PTA-PTO organization. So there's a group that we worked with that distributed 1.5 million sample kits to moms during the back to school time period. And we were able to get sun butter samples into 100,000 of those kits. And then the kits that didn't get the samples, we had ads and a coupon. So that was very effective in communicating the peanut-free school-safe message to parents who don't have a kid with an allergy. We also did an email campaign with Walmart, and this email was sent to moms within a 5-mile radius of Walmart stores. Something important to consider here is that we had selection criteria also to target peanut allergy, or not peanut allergy, food allergy parents. So we were also able to target that message specifically to families with food allergies. So then we go to the third position that Jim talked about on that chart, which is the taste and nutrition. This first slide has the superior nutrition claims for sun butter: 7 grams of protein, more vitamins and minerals than nut butter, simple ingredients, natural, and vegan. The ad on the right was placed in Kroger. It was my magazine, their weekly circular or monthly circular. And then the ad on the left is a placement with tips and trends, which is a product feature, and it goes into a lot of the major magazines. So this went into Eating Well, Women's Health, Parents, and Real Simple with the taste and nutrition message. And then the next slide is specific to flavor. So sun butter has superior flavor. If you love sunflower seeds, you'll love sun butter. We learned during research that people really love the flavor of sunflower seeds, but they didn't necessarily associate it with sun butter. So this bridged that and saying, if you love sunflower seeds, you will love sun butter. Sun butter is also perfect for recipes. So the ad on the left is a Food Network website ad that was featuring a recipe. And then the farm to table and grown and made in the USA is really emphasizing that local, fresh flavor message. And so with that, I'm going to turn it to Jim to talk about the importance of packaging.
Well, we've always believed that positioning is best delivered on packaging, or at least it's critically important that it be delivered on packaging. Unfortunately for us, most of our clients over the years have not had large media budgets, and so the people are going to find their product at the point of sale. There will be category shoppers that can identify that our product offers a better benefit package than the products that they came to shop for. So again, we strive with every package we design to make sure it's clearly communicated. Probably the best example is Dreamfields. And this was, again, a product that we launched into the low-carb craze. Both pasta, potatoes, bread really took a big hit in the low-carb craze. So this is a carb-controlled product, and we needed to make sure that we very clearly communicated what the benefit was to people that were looking to reduce their carbs. So this is a carb-controlled formula, and it gives you 5 grams of digestible carbs versus 42 for traditional pasta. So for probably about 52 consecutive Nielsen periods, this was the fastest growing product in the pasta category.
Okay, next poll question. And Laura will pull this up. Which of these channels of distribution are you hoping to grow? And as you're answering that question, I will tell you that the channels that we are talking about are the answers that you have in front of you. We're going to be talking about retail, food service, ingredient, and e-commerce. And if your answer was other, we will try to get to that in the Q&A at the end.
All right, so let's talk retail. Retail has always been the most traditional channel of distribution for food products, and it's still by far the most important, although the dynamics of where people shop and where they buy products is changing at a pretty fast pace and pretty dramatically. So again, the benefits of retail are people can find your product. If again you don't have high awareness and you're a new product and you're counting on people that are coming to shop the category to find your product, retail is great for that. It's expensive, it's competitive, you're likely going to pay slotting allowances. It's going to be very hard to get your full line of products into retail if you're a new brand. So if you have 5 varieties, you might be lucky to get 1 or 2. So that's tough. In-store gives you a lot of chance to trial and sample if you'd like to do that. And point of sale opportunities, which we have used a lot for Sun Butter in terms of calling out the brand, helping with findability so people can find the product and understand immediately why they should pick it up instead of the product they came to the category to buy.
So I'm going to provide some specific examples of how Sun Butter supported their retail chains. This first example is Target, and Sun Butter, when they launched their on-the-go single cups, which were individual servings of Sun Butter, they launched it exclusively at Target for a 1-year period. And this rollout we were able to support it with a lot of national consumer advertising, geo-targeted social media, and then a really cool program, which is Target Sample Spot. And we talked about the importance of samples. We were able to deliver 50,000 samples to people who self-selected that they had a peanut allergy. So these were very targeted through the Target Sample Spot program. The next slide is our support of Walmart. Jim mentioned the point of sale. This was targeted to the school safe choice message, the school safe segment. And this was really a great program because parents were going into the store. This was placed during the back to school period. So when parents were thinking, my school decided that we need to bring in peanut-free products. I can't bring peanuts to school anymore. What am I going to do? They go into the category, they're looking around, and they see this sign that says it's the peanut-free school-safe choice. So it was very effective and increased sales in Walmart by 14% over the prior period. And then moving on to the taste and nutrition segment. This was a point of sale that we created with the loaf roasted sunflower seeds, the taste and nutrition message. And this went into Kroger, Safeway and Albertsons, Publix, Sprouts, Wegmans, and a number of other chains.
Okay, food service, I think particularly for the category that we're in, both gluten-free and allergy-friendly, food service is becoming a very big opportunity beyond what it might traditionally be for most products. With 60% of schools now restricting or forbidding peanuts and tree nuts, schools are really struggling with, all right, what can we provide? They know kids love peanut butter, so they would like to provide something comparable that's safe. And so that's a huge opportunity. Gluten-free, as we all know, again, was a very small niche, and probably 5 years ago you could find a few restaurants somewhere that had a gluten-free or two option, and then you'd still be very worried that you'd wind up getting gluten. Today, most restaurants have gluten-free options. They will be noted on the menu so that you can, with confidence, buy those things and know they're going to be gluten-free. And every major restaurant chain, Disney World and major places like that, all have allergy strategies as to making sure that those people that have allergy needs can be met and with safety and quality.
So here's some examples of how we implemented our messaging with the food service segment. SunButter was distributed in over 21,000 K through 12 schools, and we supported that with a unique food service website. We did a lot of advertising with the School Nutrition Association. That's the lead organization for K through 12 food service. And so we did national and state by state print and digital ads. We participated in the SNA National Convention. We did sample drops with hotels. We did postcards, and we provided a lot of other support materials for the SunButter booth at that show. There's some other publications that also have K through 12 lists, like Food Service Director. SunButter then expanded with the health and taste messaging. They expanded to the college and university segment, healthcare, and convenience store. One thing that they found was they were targeted originally to the K through 12 segment, and the kids who were eating SunButter had grown up and gone to college, and they weren't there yet. So on the next slide, we did a mailing with the National Association of College and University Food Service, quite a mouthful, that's NACUFS for short. And we did a postcard mailing, and this generated a lot of new leads for SunButter. I think Jim talked about the fact that because it's sold through distribution, we don't have a direct relationship with those customers. So this gave us a direct relationship with those colleges and universities.
Ingredient usage, this was the first challenge that we worked on for SunButter. They got a grant from the state of North Dakota, and the goal was to try and introduce SunButter into a wide range of products. As we talked earlier, the problem with sunflower butter is most people had no idea really what it was and really what it was good for. So our goal was to try and have it appear in various parts of the grocery store so that people would become introduced to sunflower butter by buying products that contained it, making them much more likely to seek out and buy SunButter. So we ran ads. We had a webinar with a product development specialist from University of North Dakota. We had 75 R&D and product development people that were on that call, and it led to a substantial number of leads and product development. So here's a couple examples of, so here are examples of where we were able to achieve dual branding. So you'll see Sun Cups. Again, you'll see the Made with SunButter. Again, that's a win-win for both brands. The sandwiches, and then the Joy Life chocolate SunButter bars. Okay. E-commerce is really the wave of the future. I'm sure you're all dealing with e-commerce right now. It's projected that 70% of consumers will buy some of their food products through e-commerce in the next 5 to 7 years. And what really e-commerce can do for you is that if you're a new brand, when we launched Dreamfields and people really couldn't find the brand because we had low distribution, we could direct everyone to Amazon. So there was always a place to buy the brand, even if their store didn't carry it. And secondly, since you don't have slotting allowance, if you've got a 5 or 6 item line, which SunButter does, they were only able to get 1 or 2 in each grocery store. So when people called and said, where do I get the crunchy, where do I get some of the other varieties, we could drive them right to Amazon and they could buy them direct. So,
Okay, this is our last poll question. Which of these communication promotional vehicles are you using? And I will give you a hint. We're only going to be talking today about social media, influencer marketing, video, and recipes. However, we have done most of these, I've used most of these tools with SunButter and other clients. And we can certainly share more about some of these other tools at the end of the webinar or one-on-one if you reach out to us after the webinar.
all right.
With social media, I'm sure you guys are all well aware how critical it's becoming to have social media as part of your communication strategy. And there's a lot we can cover, so I'm just going to go over some highlights with social. One of the things that we always look at, especially with Sunbutter's social accounts, is making sure that they're optimized with high resolution profile and cover photos, videos. The cover video option on Facebook is a great place to highlight usage of your product. As it's motion, you can get a lot more content into a small space. And then including keywords and important information in your bio and about sections. Think about what are people going to be searching for that can help them land on your brand. Appropriate links to contact information is also critical. Some of the things that are forgotten is that people want to reach out to you on social to contact you, and they may not be looking for Facebook Messenger to get a hold of you. They may be looking for an email address or other customer support options. So those are make sure those are always up to date and current. And for Facebook tabs, one thing people don't often know is that Facebook tabs and the way that they're ordered on the profile actually dictates how they show up on your account. So it's important to make sure that you have those laid out how you want them to be highlighted. So if you are driving traffic for videos, make sure that tab is first. Another thing on there is adding store locator tabs. That's something that we did for somebody that was a custom tab, and then adding shoppable tabs. So actually having a shop option on your social. For content strategy, when we started off, it was quite a bit more focused on the peanut allergy community. So looking at talking about just the product itself for benefits, that it's allergy friendly, kid friendly, school safe, really growing that product awareness if people weren't really sure what Sunbutter was. And then as that we penetrated that audience and increased awareness, we were able to start talking more about usage and occasion. So people who are buying the product are buying it and using it more often, and then continuing to focus on awareness. So platforms that we used and focused on: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Often when brands are starting out, it's key to focus on one or two at a time. Don't spread yourself too thin. For us, these were all really, really great platforms for different reasons, and I'd love to go into all those, but time doesn't allow it today. An important part in your content strategy as you're developing what you're actually going to be posting is keeping your brand story in mind. People want to know more about your brand. They want to see behind the scenes. They're really looking for a personal connection with your brand. It's far different than putting an ad in Parents Magazine. This is more of a one-to-one communication tool, so keep that in mind as you're crafting your copy and your graphics. And then with that, always keeping your audience in mind as well and your goals. Everything you're posting should align with your goals, whether that's growing your product usage, if it's making people more aware of your product. Make sure that you use specific and measurable goals with your content strategies. And then as you're creating content, make sure that all of your content is mobile friendly. The vast majority of people are using social on a mobile device, so things like landing pages, anywhere you're driving people should always be mobile friendly and optimized for social. And a thing that we did quite often for Sunbutter was actually using unique landing pages for every ad and post. So we weren't just driving people to a home page per se, we're actually using unique landing pages that had consistent messaging with what people are seeing in the actual social post. And that brings me to community management. As you're developing your presence on social, looking at not just your community on your page and growing it there, we looked a lot at the allergy community as a whole. So where were people going? What other pages were they following? What were people talking about? So not only engaging with followers and fans, but reaching out beyond that to create a dialogue to help people grow more aware of Sunbutter. And that helped us to develop brand ambassadors, which is an integral piece when you're looking at your community management strategy. You're often going to get negative feedback, and brand ambassadors and empowering fans to speak on your behalf is a great way to handle that. it keeps you out of that discussion and keeps you away from trolls, but it also keeps your brand safe and it has people defending your brand for you. Reviews on pages are similar in that line too. You can have brand ambassadors speak on your behalf, but I would always recommend engaging with people who do direct reviews on your accounts. So anytime we had a happy or negative review for some butter, we always wanted to either show appreciation or try to amend the situation. And we did that beyond just our own social accounts, so not just looking at some butter's Instagram and Facebook, but also looking at what hashtags are related to the brand, what are people talking about beyond just tags and mentions, actually looking at keywords related to the brand to find out more of what people are saying that perhaps they don't necessarily want to direct right at the brand. A huge component of our social strategy was our paid media strategy and looking at paid media campaigns. As Facebook continues to change their algorithm, organic is really only becoming optimal for tracking traction of your content. It's really not going to get you much reach, if any. So we looked at really very specific targeting for all of Sunbutter's ads, looking at interests for our audience, demographics, and purchase behaviors. So not just moms, in a certain age bracket, but also, people who are shopping at specific stores that Sunbutter is carried at, people who are buying premium brands. We looked at all of that and also specific placement for our ads. So depending on our messaging and our audience, we were looking at Instagram versus Facebook, as the demographics can change slightly there. And then also captivating on stories. We wanted to make sure we were leveraging story ads as those came out. And then in-stream video spots, that was a huge thing for us as we looked at doing recipes. So kind of broadening that usage piece. That was a great spot for us. And something to keep in mind is for placement, in-stream videos are limited to 15 seconds, so you really have to keep your content brief there. All of these platforms come with a lot of analytics, and you get a lot of really helpful data that can help you refine your targeting and assess your campaigns. We looked at cost per engagement. I was making sure that anything we're spending is getting the best ROI, and we wanted to keep that number really low. And also engagement rates, so that our content's not just getting seen, but people are interacting with it. Cost per landing page view, you can set that up via Google Pixels or Facebook Pixels, so you can actually track just beyond clicks. And then we always wanted to make sure we were tracking who our audience was, so fans, followers, who is engaging with our message the most. And with that, we constantly did A to B testing, so looking at a control and a variable with everything we did, not just ads, but also copy, creative, so we could refine what we were doing and make it more effective. Facebook offers some really great ways to track your competitors. One of the things that they have on there is pages to watch. So we wanted to make sure that we were growing in the category at a competitive rate and that our benchmarks that we were setting with our metrics were similar and best in class compared to our competitors. So that was something we watched really closely. And there are other tracking tools out there beyond Facebook that are also really helpful. I would encourage you guys to look at those as well. We did quite a few branded content collaborations with other brands. In this space, you're going to find that there are a lot of brands with similar values, similar visions, and it's a friendly sort of competition. So we worked with a lot of other brands that were allergy friendly, organic, gluten-free. This is a great opportunity for us to leverage their following and vice versa. An easy way was product giveaways, working with other brands. And then for influencer marketing, I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about that. That's kind of becoming a buzz topic now for communication strategies. And we did quite a bit of that both at the macro scale, so looking at 20,000 plus followers for accounts up to, we worked with Lil Zipper who has just over 300,000 followers, and then also down to more the micro scale and looking at influencers who have between 10 to 20 followers or 10 to 20,000 followers. You're actually going to find that their engagement rates are often better. And we worked with our brand ambassadors as well for a micro influencer program. a great place to connect with these influencers are the GF and AF shows and Fab Blog. It's a great place to start cultivating those relationships. And just beyond the reach that you get with those engagements and those relationships, you also are going to be able to leverage some really great content that they can create for you. And that was often some of our most engaging content was content created by influencers. So it was a great way to repurpose what we were doing.
That brings us to some video facts. I'll just reintroduce myself. I'm Mike Mazzatelli. I do a lot of videos, graphic design at the Zimmerman Group. Boost click-through on email rates when adding a video to marketing emails by 200 to 300%. Embedding videos in landing pages can increase conversion rates by 80%. 90% of customers report videos help them make purchasing decisions. 64% of customers are more likely to buy a product online after watching a video about it. And 59% of company decision makers would rather watch a video than read an article or a blog post. So what does that all mean? That means video is a great way to communicate your message to your customers and potential customers. And that's what we really found with Sun Butter. Our video really grew over the years. We started with recipe videos, but then we ended up doing all types of video for them. And in 2017, our video campaigns generated over 2.4 million impressions, 8,000 direct website clicks, and 1.4 million views across all social media channels, which was great to see. And we had a different type of videos we used to do that, and we'll just go through those right now. The first are recipe videos. So we did at least over 20 recipe videos for Sun Butter, and people were really eager to learn about new ways to use the product, as Jim had touched on. We filmed all these in-house, and they were just a great, fun way to engage with people and to show them different ways to use Sun Butter. Video usually gets you 8 times more engagement than a typical social media post. So that's just a great way to show off the product, and a great way that we showed how to expand the use of Sun Butter. Next, brand awareness videos. These were run on YouTube, social media, websites like Walmart.com. We ended up having a video in Times Square, which we'll touch on in a minute, and traditional media. These are great. They're just fun. The one we showed you in the beginning was one we ran on YouTube, which was, really showed off the brand and just a fun way to communicate your message to customers that might not know about your product. This brings us to outdoor video. We had done 6-second ads for Sun Butter. Those are getting bigger and bigger. You can actually do a 6-second ad on TV now. So those are getting more popular as people's attention spans become less and less. So we had an opportunity to advertise in Times Square, which was very cool. I will play the video here. So that was short, sweet, and to the point. But it was really cool to do that. We were able to tie in a social media campaign with it to raise more awareness. And, 1 million people walk through Times Square a day. So it was great for brand awareness and just getting a ton of impressions from people. I'll move on to the Times Square. Sun Butter is great with apples, so we tied in the Big Apple with New York with Sun Butter. Encouraged our followers to send us in recipes to show us what they do with Sun Butter, and it ended up being great. We got fantastic response. We got really cool photos on it, and it was a really fun campaign that we got to run for Sun Butter. That brings us to B2B video.
Yeah, and for Sun Butter, we found that business to business was important in 2 aspects. First, with the schools, again, when schools were faced with, we need to implement a peanut-free, nut-free solution, they were really concerned about how do we introduce that to our kids, because they're worried that some of the kids might think it is peanut butter because it looks like it. And so we put together a video telling them how to introduce it, at what time of day would be best to introduce it, with what type of recipes would get the maximum reaction. And then the second phase of that was, what do I do with sun butter? What can I make? I know I can make a sandwich out of it, but what else can it do? And so we provided a wide range of kid appeal recipes, from bars to cookies to even some entrees that could be made with sun butter that we knew kids would like and that they would have success with. And then we have the Sun Butter Farm to Table. That again, I encourage you, if you have an interest, to look at that later. Faribault Foods was another good example. So they were selling to people, contract manufacturers, people that would have them produce products. So what you wanted to show was what your capability was, what the quality of your operation was, and what food safety you could deliver. So both of those were designed to do that, to set the stage for positioning both Sun Butter and Faribault Foods as premium quality, safe manufacturers.
I just want to say a quick note that you can find all our videos we've done on YouTube. Just search the Zimmerman Group or go to our website, zimmermangroup.com, and you'll see a link out to YouTube if you want to check out more videos. The future of video, there's talk that, is video a fad? Where is it going to lead? I would say that it's always going to be evolving. You're going to always find new ways to communicate your message to consumers. And just keep your eye on, new trends that are coming. That's what we try to do. 360 video, virtual reality, interactive video, live video on Facebook, 3D can give you new and fun ways to engage with your brands. Over on the right, as an example, Coca-Cola invested a lot of money developing this one-of-a-kind LCD video board that moves in Times Square. It's very cool. I encourage you to check it out, but it's just showing you new ways that these brands are innovating a way to communicate their message to consumers. That brings us to recipes. Much like our recipe videos, recipes were very important to the strategy of Sun Butter. We developed over 100 recipes for them. We use them on websites, social media. We use them in videos, ads, recipe books, and on the app. As we touched on before, people are really eager to learn about new ways to use Sun Butter, and we really pushed ourselves to expand the overall usage and to show people new ways that they could use Sun Butter in their everyday recipes. And I'll turn over to Gretchen, who will show you some examples of how we use the recipes.
And recipes are very engaging, so they perform well on all platforms. So Michael talked about some of the different platforms, and these are just some examples. So we did a Simply Gluten-Free magazine ad with a gluten-free fudge, very delicious. And I talked before about some Food Network advertising that we did. These were a series of recipes. The ads looked very native to the Food Network website, so they got a very high engagement rate and higher than average click-through rate, so very effective. And then on the next slide, we did a number of recipe books. So we created 4 consumer recipe books for Sun Butter and 2 food service recipe books. Our most recent recipe book was the Trending Chocolate Recipe Collection, which was recipes from influencers. So we took some of the best recipes, chocolate recipes, that our influencers had created over time that got really good traction on their platforms, and we brought them into a recipe collection, and we made it a free downloadable PDF recipe book. The influencers promoted that. Some of it was paid promotion, but some of it was just organic promotion of that recipe book. Then 6 months later, we released the recipe book on Kindle, and if you search chocolate Sun Butter on Amazon, you will find this recipe book. So although the recipe book did not perform all that well as far as downloads, it's a really great advertisement and placement on Amazon.
All right, and last but not least, we are constantly in the evaluation phase. So as we talked earlier about awareness, usage, how are we moving down the continuum of prospect opportunities? So always set measurable goals for whatever you do. Constantly evaluate. Charity is, she says, everything is a test in social media. So we're constantly refining our target audience, our day parts, our messaging. And that has been really a key to expanding the Sun Butter franchise by really learning where we are and where we can go and what the key messaging and strategies and tactics will be to get us there. So that's certainly part of it. We've thrown an awful lot of information and slides and things at you today. So hopefully there's some good value there. And if you have specific questions, I think we've got a few minutes here to address some of the follow-up questions. And then if you have anything else afterwards, I think Laura's going to push out the PDF of the presentation, so you'll have that. And so if there's stats or different information that you wanted to get, you can. And as Michael said, all the videos are viewable. So if you have any specific ones that you'd want to take a look at, you can. And there's our names and contact info. If we could ever be a resource for any of you, we'd love to discuss that with you. So Laura, do we have our questions now that we can address?
Yes, thank you so much for that presentation. We do have a few minutes now for questions, so please submit those using your question panel. We do have one right now. The first question is, to get your products in magazines, do you always have to pay? This makes it difficult for small new businesses.
Well, you know, the old saw about advertising is paid advertising is what you pay for. PR is what you pray for. So a lot of times, if you have a new product story, you can engage a publication trying to get them to put it in a new product section, and oftentimes that will be not paid for. So that's a good way to do it. And most publications have that new product section. And again, if you have a compelling story, we've had good luck in getting actually TV exposure on the daytime shows or the Today Show, that kind of thing, for products that really have a strong story to tell. Because the media is always looking for things that will be of interest to their readers or viewers. And so if you have that story and you can craft it, you will have some luck in getting some free placement.
Okay, that's all the questions that have come in so far. So if there are any other questions you'd like to ask this group, feel free to submit those now. Okay, we have another one. When you send your story and sample product, who specifically do you send it to? The editor?
Yeah, generally it would be the editor. And, you know, the other thing you can try and do too is to try and, if you have a media source, what we did with peanut allergies, we tried to identify people in the media that had peanut allergies. So those people would be, you know, very much more interested in promoting that. So you can do that. You can also go out to if you're talking about allergy free, there are a lot of organizations that, you know, are trying to help people navigate allergy friendly products. So you could reach out to them. So do some background. What we did with Dreamfields, because we finally wind up targeting it to diabetics. So we would reach out to Mary Tyler Moore and a lot of well-known people that were diabetic, and we got a few of them to comment, and that was good. So that got us some free publicity.
Okay, we have a couple more coming in. We have one question that is, what is the SNA convention again?
That's the School Nutrition Association. So that's one of the leading organizations in the school food service area for K through 12. So School Nutrition Association.
And if you Google that, you'll find the dates for their shows and also the vehicles that they have that you might use to push your story out. But
all
if
right,
somebody's new, okay,
go ahead.
if somebody's new, they may want to go to the show and walk the show. So the first time you go to a show, it's oftentimes best to go for a day and walk the show, see who all the competitors are, see what the trends are, collect lots of business cards of potential prospects and all of that.
The next question is, what is the recommended minimum spend slash budget for social media advertising in order to make a measurable impact?
Wow, I'm gonna have to answer that with it depends. It really depends on what your goal is. It depends what your product is. It depends what your audience is. Things you have to look at are what are competitors already doing in that space. If you have a competitive product or a product that has very competitive keywords and audience, you're going to be paying a lot more per bid. I would recommend, oh, it's just so hard to say. I'd have to say it depends.
Well, I would just say to dimensionalize a little bit, so we give you sort of some guardrails. We have probably done social media programs for as little as 4,000 a month in terms of our time, and up to maybe $7,000 to $10,000 a month. So it's not something that's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But again, the more you spend, the more impact you get. And to Charity's comment, every situation is a little different, so it's hard to make a blanket statement. But that range is what we have worked in for a number of clients. So you can have an effective program at that rate.
I'll just add one little note on that. And when you have really engaging content too, I mean, we've found that, our cost per engagement on some of our videos and some of our stuff that people really enjoy is a hundredth of a penny. So depending on what you're pushing out there, you get more bang for your buck.
And I think the other thing is what we've tried to do in social media with all of the things we do is to really repurpose a lot of the things that we create. So we'll create something for a recipe photo and we'll use it on social media, maybe Instagram. So that's another key way, is make sure your content works really hard and is used in as many places as possible.
All right, the next comment that was sent in, it says, this person did not know that sun butter was the example discussion today, but sun butter is the main ingredient in my product, yet I'm not free from the top 8 allergens. I educate customers in store constantly on sunflower seed butter and they love it. And I have been in business for over 3 years. How do I grow from here? What should the focus be, research or social media?
Well, probably both. It would be, we'd be happy to hook up a 15-minute conference call with this person to really understand where they are in their brand development and help them figure out where the key opportunities are. Is it adding new varieties? Is it expanding distribution? Where would they like to go? And then we could identify what we thought for them might be the best tools and vehicles to use.
Oh, great. Okay, here's the next one. How important is it to have your product made with organic ingredients for allergen conscious consumers?
I think it's a benefit, but not a requirement. So I think, as Gretchen was talking about non-GMO, there are a lot of triggers that I think enhance the perception of your product. Certainly organic is one, non-GMO is another, made in the USA. So I think organic is not critical, but it's certainly valuable.
Okay, the next question is the 4,000 to 10,000 per month for social media the paid portion or inclusive of the agency or internal person doing the work?
That would include paid media and content creation and management. So you'd be looking at a full campaign essentially. So we would develop the content, we would be looking at the strategy for targeting, and also that would include your paid media budget.
And I think importantly too, analytics and refinement. So when our folks handle social media, they again are constantly evaluating the analytics to refine and improve what they're doing. But that's pretty much turnkey from our end. We obviously work with the client in terms of strategy and so on, but as far as developing content and executing and monitoring, and I think, Sherry, you can talk about, I think you're in there every day sort of, evaluating, managing the content. But answering any questions that people have. And
I think it's often overlooked how much time goes into not just the development, but the moderation and the management side. So keeping it in-house, you have to think how many hours a week someone's going to be dedicated to that. So if this becomes something where someone's working on it 20 hours a week and you essentially have a part-time employee focusing on it, that's that's a real thing, and it's very easy to spend 40 hours a week just working on your social strategy. So when you think about in-house expense, it really comes down to how many hours do you want to dedicate to that, and kind of what's that cost per hour for you.
Another question came in. How important is having your actual packaging list all the certifications your brand can attain? Do GF and AF consumers respond to these more than price, for example?
well, I think it's certainly part of the value equation. So if I'm in the category, and I mean, people are already buying allergy-friendly and gluten-free products because they've got an enhanced desire for nutrition and quality and assurance. So I think it's important to have them on your package. Depending upon what category you're in, they might be more or less prominent. But certainly, if you're allergy friendly, you want to make sure that that is really first and foremost. Same with gluten free, because if I'm a gluten free shopper, I don't want to have to look on the back of the package to try and find out if this is gluten free. So I think you want to have some major call outs on the front. I know there's an incredible number of certifications you can get now, so you may not want to put them all on there, but you certainly want to put the most important ones there. The other thing that we've done for that is when we do research to try and identify a benefit hierarchy. So in terms of in this category, what is the most important second, third, fourth criteria that you look for to select a brand? You could ask those questions. So you could say, of these certifications, which are most important to you? And so if you had 6 and you go, gosh, we really only would put 3 on the front, we can put 3 on the back. Make sure you're putting the 3 most important ones to that category customer and prospect on the front.
All right, we had some great questions. No more have come in, so I think we can wrap that up. As you mentioned, we have one more. Oh no, it was just to say thank you for the presentation. Okay, so please look out for a follow-up email that will include a recording of today's webinar in addition to the presentation slides. So on behalf of the Gluten Free Media Group, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will connect with you again soon.
All right, thanks everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you.